Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. It's November 9th here on the Povey Organic Farm, and we're going to do a garden tour. Let's see what's going on. Normally when I do a tour, I always start at the top of the garden, but we'll be a little different today. We'll start at the bottom of the garden. And our blueberries are starting to, the leaves starting to change. It won't be long. They'll be losing their leaves. We've got pretty much most of the grass out of here. This is where we tried to start another few strawberries. I don't know if I'm going to keep this part up or not. I'll probably go ahead and relocate these. My Roselle hibiscus, I've been harvesting all the calyxes off of it, and I just cutting the limbs as I go. That way I can harvest the ones that's good. The ones that's too small, well, they'll just go into the compost pile, but I'm slowly taking this out. The intent is, and I've got a few beds to finish up down here, this being one of them, this being the other one. We'll redo it and get the ground cover in the walkways. And we're going to, I've got a few more blueberries. We're going to start another row of them next to these. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, we've got pretty much most of the bad grass out, except this section right here. Once we get from the greenhouse down here, then we'll be done with that, and we'll get all these beds put in. We're going to take out a lot of these plants. These never really did good either. The eggplants here, a lot of it could be they weren't taken care of good enough, not enough fertilizer, or whatever the case. But anyway, we'll start cutting these out. We have our broccoli in here. Now, we have lost just a few plants, but it's doing good. It's getting a good foothold. We've got some cabbage over here. It's starting to get a hold. We'll need to come down here and do some fertilizing, get this stuff going good. Most of these peppers, they're hanging in there. We won't quite take them out, but some will end up coming out. Some of these pretty and sweet are starting to where they don't produce good peppers anymore. There's a couple plants that'll have to come out. What I'm working on today is, and I've been working on it this week. Looks like I might need to help this little beauty back up. But I've been potting up a lot of these strawberries. Now I have a friend that gave me some blackberries, and I'm going to take her some plants. It'd be easier to just bring them in little pots. That way the roots will be stable. But I've been cleaning up these rows, taking out the old dead plants and getting all the grass out, working my way up. So what I'm going to do is the ones that have already rooted into the ground, I'll cut them loose. The ones that aren't affected by the pot being hooked to them, I'll go ahead and move them. Also, I've noticed in here, which I do have strawberries, they're continuing to put on, and they'll do that until the frost comes. But I have little yellow jackets that are in here, and they're actually, you can see some of them flying around down there, but they're actually eating the ripe strawberries. They're getting the sugar and eating them. It's almost to the point to where I think I might need to, once I get these set up, go ahead and put a bug cloth down. But they'll take, now that one there I can't really show you, but I'll cut the part off that they've damaged and go ahead and eat it. But that it does create a situation, because I don't want them there, but I need some pollination on the strawberry, so we'll see how that goes. Now this area here, this was all growed up and tarped. We've got this done. Now initially, whenever I put in a lot of my beds, I put in 4-foot wide beds. And it's somewhat okay, depending on which crop you have. But it really creates a problem because the reach on it, 3 foot is probably the maximum. A lot of these, and where it works out right, I've changed these to 2-foot beds. So I've got 2-foot walkway and a 2-foot bed. And that really works good as far as it's easy to reach across and it's easy to step over between the bed. Now the greenhouse is just partially rolled up. It's been getting pretty cold at night, so I've been leaving it where it warms up good. Our eggplant over here is still producing some fruit, but a lot of our peppers, these jalapenos here, aren't doing too good. They're probably fixing to come out. It won't be long. We'll get rid of them. We do have a lot of grass coming in where we built these new beds, and that's from the seeds blowing in. But this broccoli here, it's planted the same time as the other. It's doing real good. The kale is starting to take a hold. Now I hadn't been down here watering it like I really should, and I haven't got back and fertilized it, so we'll see how that goes. On these peppers here, these are still done pretty good. I've got some of these jalapenos that would just as well be taken out. The peppers are really, really small, and the plant isn't doing good. The habaneros are still loaded up with peppers. They're losing some of their leaves, but they're just really loaded up with peppers. Now when I put these in, I thought this was a row of elephant garlic, but this wasn't. This was different varieties. The elephant garlic was actually here, and it's easy to tell it once it starts getting up and established with bigger leaves, because it looks totally different. But it's come up nearly 100% germination, and some of them are slower, like this empty spot here, and we got the little tip sticking out, and that might do the same way in the others. If they got planted a little bit deeper, for whatever reason they want to germinate slower. These green beans, they're virtually just about completely played out. So here this next week we'll probably go ahead and cut these out. This other garlic, it's come up good. Now where we planted the nodules, and a lot of times they're slow to pop up, you can see just a couple of them have come up out of the ground, so it'll be a while. In fact, it could be springtime before they actually get out. Now we have turnips here. They don't look real pretty, but we're letting these get the turnip itself on them, and with this cooler weather, they're really getting sweet. Now I reseeded some mustard here, but I don't know that it's going to do so well. It is seeded kind of thick in there. These green beans were planted the same time as these ones, and they're playing out too. They look a little healthier. They're still blooming, but they aren't making very many. Now this was our leek that we put in, and it's doing real good, really sturdy. It's going to be time too to come in here and weed this. We've still got to take out the rest of this turnips and mustard. The rest of this will end up as an onion bed. Our black Nebula carrots here are doing good, and our redskins are doing good. These were just finished up thinning them out, so they ought to do good. Over here we have some more garlic. This was some that I pulled up that was sprouting from the bed at the bottom of the garden. And this in here was little bitty onions that they were too big, too small to do anything with. I dried them and put them back, and now I put them in the ground for us to have some onions, some quicker onions to eat. And so these won't be long. In fact, some of them's big enough for fresh onions now. The asparagus, it's still looking good. It won't be long. This will be dying back. It gets a little colder, and it ought to come back strong next time. Next year, once it dies back, what we'll do is we'll cut it off of the ground, and we'll come in and lay a layer of compost over the top of it. Our little rosemary that we planted, you know, this was just a little bitty plant. You can see how big it is. Now we have been clipping some off it too. We cut back substantially on our oregano. What I'm thinking about doing is taking and potting some of this up, moving this to a different place in the garden. And I definitely need to get down here and trim my chives off so I can get some nice fresh growth. And then we have the thyme here. I cut a little bit of this. Right here are my two new, well, actually 3 new blueberries, 2 types. These are both rabbit eye varieties, so these are mid-season blueberries. The ones that I have planted out there now are high bush varieties, so they're an early. Over here we have our blackberries. Now, looked like all these were going to die, and then some started coming back. Right now we've got we're up to 9, which 9 is a good amount of blackberries. This would be way more than we can eat, and then still give us plenty to put up with the other stuff we got. Our habanada and our nata pino, they're still going strong in the greenhouse. Our lettuce is starting to get a foothold there, and as you can see, this nata pino it's up about 6.5 feet. So, but when it gets cold, it starts to frost or gets down to freezing, it's going to be toast. Let's go in the greenhouse. I've cracked it partially. The temperature in here is it's about 82 degrees. Over here on this sensor, it's 90. It's always hotter right there at the edge. I haven't quite figured that out. I still have a few cucumbers that are hanging in there, but not enough for market anymore. But I do have enough that I can extend my season as far as for me to eat them. I'm getting a few here and there. Like I say, it is pretty humid in here. As far as tomatoes go, or if you want to say maters, they're doing good. They're loaded up. They gradually getting ripe, and I've been having to I'll pick them when they're good and orange, and then let them ripen up on the counter, and then I've been freezing them because I want to make some salsa. Now this tomato here, and I never bothered picking it up, this one got shook down when we had the bad winds a few weeks back. Same thing with this one, got kind of knocked loose. Our cilantro, which anyone that grows cilantro knows, eventually it ends up this way. Now I'm going to cut this out, but it's not like this cilantro isn't edible. There's still a lot of this when it's down here. In fact, I cut some just today for some beans that we were making. My French beans, they're doing real good. I've been pulling pods off as they start to yellow and taking the beans out. But they got up there pretty tall. That went all the way to the top. But I'm fixing to, it won't be long, I'll pull these down and pull them out. But I'm give them a chance for these these to finish up maturing the seed in them. Now our Craig's Grande jalapenos. This one here is about 3.5 foot tall, and they're still doing good. Of course, you know, the freeze is going to get them in here, unless possibly I might put some roll cover fabric over them to try to protect them when it gets. I'm trying to extend the season as long as I can. I have these two. I've never picked this one up once it fell over, but I have these two little. These are hot red cherry peppers. I'm saving them for seed, which I really have enough seed already. Now I checked these today. The seeds look like they're starting to germinate. It's been about 5 days since these were put in. Now if it was warmer weather, these would already be good and germinated. There's 3 different varieties, so I got to make sure I check each one whenever I check them. This is actually the first year I've ever had to use a ladder to pick tomatoes, and I haven't actually had to get up there yet, but there are a lot of them that's up there high, so I'll have to get them, because the ones that are up there are actually 10 foot high. That's a little more than my reach. So, but they are doing good. They're loaded up. I should have plenty of tomatoes for my salsa. Maybe I'll have a few if they ripen up quick enough where I can carry a few to market. And my onions, which I did a video not too long ago, and trim these up, which it hadn't been about a week, and already these things have probably a good 2-3 inches of growth on them. So you can see, like I said in the video, it's kind of like grass. You cut it and it seems like they grow faster. I have a few extra plants that don't look too good. I think that these would probably just need to be thrown out. I'm really impressed with my Craig's Atomic Grape. Now we've got some ripening. I like the colors on them. They get that nice orange or red, and then they're purple, and the flavor is good on them too. Now some say they don't produce good, but I haven't had that problem. They do seem to be slow, and for a grape tomato, you can see these have no problem about being big. In fact, some of them are really humongous because they had fasciated blossoms. They might even have some type of strange thing to them. But if you see up in here this green one that's right here, this thing here is about 2.5 inches across, so it is not a little one. And I need to come back in here and do some more trimming up on my branches. I like to keep them trimmed up above where the tomatoes are, so I can see them good. And now I'm still having some splitting on my Amish paste, but I've actually stopped the problem with my celebrities. My celebrities were all of them were cracking. I turned the water down like I did here. I'd shut off 2 of the 3 feed lines for water, and it seemed to help these some, but they're still cracking. But these ones, I actually shut all of them off. I finally had to shut all of them off a week or so ago, and that's really helped it. There's so much moisture in the greenhouse, and I don't know if it draws more up from the ground or what, but it was definitely causing it to the tomatoes to crack. Maybe growing too fast, skin's not flexible enough. It's just hard to say. And let's see, we have some tomatoes here. These were my Lincolns, some that I had propagated out. There is a tomato or 2, but what I did, I had another 3 of them over here, and I need to get to weeding. But What I did was I just took them out, and this would be the same thing here. Now these are turnips, and these are when they start getting like this, and their leaves start getting kind of a dark tinge on them or something. Normally they get tough, or they might get bitter, and so what we do is that's when we stop picking them. Now there are a few that's actually forming turnips in here, but I think we've got enough on the other row over there that we'll probably go ahead and pull these out and start another row. Turnips are a real good winter crop because they take the cool. Now if they get really frozen, it can nip the leaves, but it doesn't take much to put a little ground cover over them, and that'll protect them good. Now these green beans here, these are Kentucky Wonders, along with that one right there. Now they're still producing, but they're not producing much. We're lucky if off of these two rows, which is probably a little bit over 90 foot, and they're double rows. It's lucky if we're getting half a bushel every couple of days when she picks. It's kind of getting lower and lower. The peppers are still tending to do good. They as you can see, they're blooming up a storm, and if we have a little bit of wind, which it gets them pollinated good. Now I haven't had real good luck out of my hatch green chilies, but they were put in really late. They are putting on peppers, most of them small, but they are doing a job. Now these Craig's Grandes that's out here, now this one looks pretty big, and that one, but not as big as the ones in the greenhouse. So you can see how much difference it makes with that the extra shade cloth when it's really hot, or the extra warmth when it's really cold. Now we do have some potatoes. First Freeze is going to get these. These were just some that she put in late. We were talking about maybe cover them. She said we just let them do what they do, but we might put some ground cover over it if it looks like we're going to get some frost or something. These were my late straight 8 cucumbers, and as you can see, the cold weather, the blight and everything, and looks like aphids now, stuff, but they've just really had a time, and this row's going to be pulled out this week. So the second batch or this last batch of cucumbers, I think this is 3rd or 4th, these never made it. I thought it was just kind of a trial, to see a test, if you might say, to see if we could actually get another crop. It was just a gamble. These here are Collards. These were put out a week or so ago, and they're not really happy as they could be. Some of them are having a little bit of problem. But what we'll probably do is go ahead and plant another tray of these so we can finish out this row. That way when we pick collards, we'll have plenty of them. Now this is our ginger. As you can see, the leaves are drying back on it. Even on these where it's a little greener. And you can see down here we've got a lot of ginger in here. What we're probably going to do is go ahead and just use these containers next year for our herbs. Now I haven't even pulled up any of the turmeric, and I'm sure this is just more than full, because it was just kind of stuck in there as a afterthought. Now this is some sweet potatoes. Now we do have some in the other garden, and these sweet potatoes, and it's definitely time we're going to dig them, but she wants to wait for a little longer, leave them in there. The plants are looking good, so and it's not hurting anything. But these were some extras that we had bedded them all up in the compost pile when we finally found that we had some, and they were planted late. But the ones in the other garden, they really didn't take off like they needed to. The ground just doesn't have enough organic matter, and there was no way that we could take care of fixing that soil up and getting it rejuvenated and take care of this garden too. Now the okra, which kind of didn't talk much about it. Now the okra is just about played out. It's still putting on a few. It's getting a few blooms here, but okra likes really hot weather, and it's at the point that it's basically its year is done. So we'll be cutting that out too. In fact, on our older okra plants, I'm sure we'll be using the chainsaw to cut them down. That's kind of strange. Now we have been hauling more compost in, and like I say, we've got that little bit of area there that's left to do, and then we've got those beds at the end. So hopefully this and one more load and I'll get a break until spring. But anyway, that's where the garden's setting for the earlier part of November. I hope your garden's doing good. Let me know what you're growing in the comments. And if you have any suggestions for me, just let me know those too. If you want to see more of my videos, just hit that subscribe button, hit the bell button so you'll be notified, and happy gardening.